Hello and welcome. Hello and welcome back. Yes, I want to welcome you to a new segment of Misfit. Start living and thriving now with Dr. Natalie Forrest. Me. So, here we are. Another show, another segment. This is our second show. In the first show, I just shared with you a little bit about what you can hope for, expect, anticipate in this show. And today, I want to get us started. I want to get us started a little bit more on some of the real content, some of the real issues, and as I love to say it, some of the real challenges that we are going to explore and face together. Why? Because being a misfit is just so much fun and so much happiness. As you can see today, we do not have a guest, but don't worry, there will be guests. If you're looking for guests or other shows that contribute, add, and provide information and insights on other subjects that you might be dealing with in your transformation, be sure to go to www.transformation.tv. You can find a whole lot of shows there, a whole lot of really good books by all of my colleagues, by all of the people that I align with in this worldwide movement. So go over there. You can see my show as well, the Be You show, of course. So go there, see what's there, and then listen more. There are a lot of really amazing people there. And why do I say that? Well, if you want to be a misfit, if you want to be happy, if you want to be successful, what it takes is to gather all the information and to surround yourself with those that can assist you on that journey. It doesn't matter where you are in the journey, okay? We all have people that we consistently surround ourselves with. And whoever we surround ourselves with is going to impact or influence or at least provide some sort of energetic input. Let me put it that way. And that energetic input is really, really crucial for how we live, how we are. And by the way, when I say be or are, please always think of those as capital letters. One of my big missions is to assist people in really being who they are. Why? Because if you really are who you're meant to be, who you are designed to be, your soul, as a dear friend of mine, your soul devotion is the term that she uses, says, then we need to get back to that. I mentioned some of that in the first segment, and today I want to dive a whole lot deeper into that so that you get a better idea of where we're going to go. And of course, remember that all the experts I'm going to bring in are not just about what I'm an expert in. They're going to contribute more information, other issues that directly relate to why it is so important in many ways to be a misfit. Again, you want to bring in as much information as you can. So, you ready? Good. I'm always excited. And it's really hard for me to sit, but I don't want to run around and get out of the picture. If you ever see me live, you'll see I'm not just using my hand, but I actually walk back and forth. It's like you're watching a tennis match. Why? Because I'm sharing the energy. And right now, while I'm sitting here, I want to share the energy. I want to share my thoughts, and I want to tap into your energy because it's so important. And this platform, this venue, this medium that we're using right now, it may seem stagnant, it may seem as if there's no direct connection, but trust me though, as an energy person, the transfer happens right now. It happens right now whenever you're seeing it. There's a transfer of my energy to your energy. So let's take a moment. Let's make just sure that you are fully present. What I love to do is I love to sometimes just put my hands on my heart. So if you can, why don't you try that? Put your hands on your heart, somewhere in that region, okay? And either close your eyes or not, that's your choice. And then just take a really deep breath in from your diaphragm, all the way up, and then blow out whatever is not supposed to be there right now. You can really blow that out hard. And we always say 3 times. And then, of course, I do some Reiki too sometimes. So yeah, I'm going to shake out whatever I don't need. Good? All right. So, misfit. I am a misfit. I've always been a misfit. And yet, there have been times when I try to avoid being a misfit. I try to fit in instead. But then whenever I fit in, it was like being in a box, and the box was too small, or the box was uncomfortable. And I felt like I was caged. And if you've ever seen animals that are caged, they walk around back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Not in the wildlife preserves where they have enough space, but in the smaller areas, they walk back and forth, and they're like trying to figure out, well, where can I go? What is going to happen? Okay, so that's at some point how I would feel, and that's when I would leave because I'm a revolutionary. But we'll get there in a minute. So if you're thinking about me being a misfit, it's very simple. When I was a young child, there may not be a whole lot that I remember, but I remember knowing things. And sometimes as a child, it can be very, very scary. I remember knowing things that other people didn't know, or sensing things. Those ways in which some of us just know. We all have that talent, and some of us use it, others don't use it. Again, those of us who don't use it, it's because we've been trying to fit in. And I tried that too, because at a young age, it became really, really scary. Knowing things that would happen, and having what, in the practical terms of today's world, you might call déjà vu experiences, even though I knew I've never been there. I did have at times nightmares about one particular challenge. I was wondering where that came from. I later investigated where that came from, and I found my answer. I was also a misfit in many ways in school because, number one, I was more of a tomboy. And number two, I didn't really mind being alone. I was always thinking a lot. I was writing poetry to try and find a way to get all of those thoughts that I had, all of the ideas that I had out of my system so that I could, in a way, detox. For me, writing has always been a form of detox, whether it's poetry, whether it's books, whether it's articles, whether it's just journaling. It's always getting it out of my system so that I have room for new things and sometimes better things. So I started doing that at a young age, and of course I read a lot of books, always. So in that sense, I was the weirdo, right? The weird kid, which means I was a misfit. Okay? And the way that I was analyzing things in school was also a misfit. I was always trying to find later on in college the courses that would challenge me. So I remember very specifically, and there was this one professor at the university in Hamburg who looked at me the first day I came into class, and it was a class in rhetoric. And he looked at me and said, don't worry about it. You'll never make it. You'll fail this class easy. And I was like, whoa. It's like, what am I going to do now? He already prejudged me. He looked at me and he figured I won't amount to anything in his class. Well, a lot of people would have left, especially because the reputation that this professor had was very, very strict. And that once he had made up his mind, there was very little way of changing his mind. Now, guess what do you think I did? Of course, I took the class. And yes, I aced that class. Why? Because I don't fit into the regular paradigms, into the regular judgments, into the regular images that you have. If you try to find a category to fit me in, it's going to be hard. And I believe part of the reason why it's been so hard for other people to categorize me is thanks to my mom. My mom always used this example, and sometimes it's a little hard to try and paraphrase or translate something, but she always used to say she'd rather have us be something with edges, like a square or a rectangle, for example, instead of a round, wobbly thing that you can make fit anywhere. You may have seen those little toys, they're like round and wobbly. You can fit them in a box, you can fit them in a triangle, it doesn't matter. Now, and of course, what that meant, that those shapes, those are societal norms. And if you have a triangle shape and you're a box, how are you going to fit in? You can't make it fit, right? So she raised my brother and me to be and to be ourselves, which I am eternally grateful. It doesn't mean that it was always easy to be a misfit. It's not, because there's so many societal norms. But it's only not if you don't know who you are. If you know who you are, and if you are filled with that confidence, then it is so much fun to be misfit, because you can let go of all of the societal worries. Of course, as I mentioned, I also try to fit in. Because there are a lot of these pressures, TV, radio, the people that we surround ourselves with, right? I mentioned that before. They're all having certain expectations or implanting certain expectations in our heads. The idea of at what age should you get married? At what age should you have children? And even though today it seems it may have changed, there are still certain societal norms about that. There are certain terms that are being used if you are not at some point married at a certain age. There are ideas about midlife crisis, and I never know when that happens, because I see a lot of people of different ages who are changing their lives. So I don't think it's a midlife crisis. I think it's a life recognition. And that happens to all of us at different stages. And that's when we're no longer fitting. We're no longer fitting that image that somebody else has. Going back to, of course, I tried to fit at some point. So there's this dance between fit and misfit, right? So I went and received a scholarship in the United States. And long story short, I ended up getting married because I wanted to fit in. I wanted to fit in with what was happening. I was a certain age. I had met a nice boy, man. And I thought, okay, so makes sense now to get married. And I did, and it didn't fit. It fit for a little bit. And that's what I tell my daughter nowadays. There are times when it fits and when you're together, and then when you realize that it's no longer a fit, when you're no longer happy together, it might be time to separate, because there are people in our lives that come in for a reason. Every single person comes in for a reason. You've probably heard that as well. And when the reason is concluded, or when, in my terminology, you've learned that lesson, then it might be time to part. No hard feelings or anything. It's just the way it is. And so, it didn't work out, and I decided that it was time to part. And I didn't get there overnight, because for years and years, I had actually tried to make it work. And my body started failing on me, lots of illnesses, a lot of sicknesses, lots of pain. I was always wondering why. And so at some point, I started making a change. And I'm sharing that with you because it's important when it comes to our patterns. So I made a change, and I started taking time for me. And in that time that I made early in the morning, in a variety of different ways, I started to come back to me. I started to realize who I am and what I need and what I am here to do. And so that process led me to separate mentally and emotionally. And so at some point then, obviously, it was just clear that it was done with. And we split up, and I became a misfit again. I became a misfit because I didn't stay married, even though I could have probably had more money staying with him. I was a misfit because I was in a different country. My family wasn't around. I was all by myself pretty much. And so being by myself in a country without anybody, and then trying to make sure that I had enough money, that I was taking the cats with me, that I was being able to pay for my vehicle, that all would have really been heavy on some people's mind. And it was part of what had kept me also from doing what I needed to do. But once I had made that separation mentally, emotionally, and definitely soulfully, I was ready to go, and I just started trusting that would work out. Of course, it's being a misfit in so many ways, because who leaves somebody that could help them make a lot of money and being by yourself? Because a lot of my friends no longer were my friends at that point. Well, and then I had a good job, one that I liked, and everybody judged me there too. Very funny, ideas of, ooh, you came in, you want to take over. No, I didn't want to take over. But people judge you, and because they try to find a category for you. And up until now, I've pretty much withstood all of those categories. Until somebody at one point asked me in an interview, in a radio interview, at the very end was this question out of left field. And they said, so, do you consider yourself a revolutionary? And it took me aback for a second. It really did, because I was like, what do you mean revolutionary? I'm just being me. But then, you get those flashes that come. It's like in movies, you see this flashing of the light in front of your eyes. That's really what it was. So I was looking at what I had done, and I realized, yeah, I think I am. Because I don't fit. I don't fit any category. And I make change happen. And then in addition to that, after I made change happen, I move on to the next challenge. So I don't stay just to stay and make money, or I don't stay just to stay because it's good for the public persona or the public image. I do what is needed and I move on, which is pretty much like a revolution if you're thinking about it, right? Is coming in and making it happen and leaving. It's a scientific revolution that others build on. It's a revolution that makes positive change happen, and it's really, really crucial in so many ways. And it doesn't fit the image that others have, right? Because you're supposed to keep doing what you're doing. And so in many places that I've been, I've come in, made change happen. When I realized it was not going to be possible to do more, I left. And also that directly connects to my values. So if I can no longer make change happen, I leave. And that's connected to my values. If I see people acting in a certain way that's not in line with my values or integrity, I don't necessarily hold a grudge, but I'm going to leave because I don't want to surround myself with that. So yes, in many ways, I am a misfit. And I'm very proud of that. Very proud that I am a misfit because it shows that I have come to a point in my life where I know who I am, where I know my values. And it's been a journey. When we come to this planet, we know. But then all of that social stuff keeps happening. All of these subconscious implementations keep happening. And that's why I have created this process that I call the hidden power of patterns. And it's based on my background as a historian, research analysis. And they always say that a historian's mind is like a courtroom where you put everything together, and I do see life and everything that I deal with and everything that my clients deal with as a puzzle. And I begin to see all the little pieces, and then we put them together. Not me putting them together for them, but together. And so that is how my brain works. And on the other hand, my brain also works as a visionary. I see the world, I see the possibilities. And that's what created the hidden power of patterns process. And parts of that I'm going to, of course, share with you so that you can decide for yourself whether you want to fit in or not fit in. Whether you want to fit in some arenas and not in others. Because you have all those choices. And in addition to all those choices, there are certain things that we just need to do in the world we live in. And those things are making money to pay bills. And that might mean that you have a job, and there's nothing wrong with the job. So how much are you fitting in at your job? Are you going to all the parties or not? That's a question of being a fit or being a misfit. And therefore you can see there are almost different layers or different levels of being a misfit. And it's your choice. I'm not able to tell you exactly from afar, what you should and shouldn't you, how much you should or should not fit or misfit. That's not my job. I'm giving you some tools here. And if you want to dive deeper, you'll let me know. So the hidden power of patterns is really important because it goes into identifying patterns that you have. Patterns are not just behaviors and rituals. Patterns are also thought patterns. So on the one hand, you look at the ritualistic things you do, the ritualistic actions that you take. And we need to find out why do you take them? Why do you act that way? But that's really a high level, right? That's right here on the surface. Because if you're honest, in order to really figure out why you are having or why you're acting like this, you need to figure out what triggers it. And in order to understand what triggers it, you then need to look at your beliefs, your values. And that's already getting a little deeper and a little harder to identify your values. Sometimes we think we have certain values, but they've really been superimposed on us. Or somebody else shared it with us, and because we want to fit, we took it on. By the time that you get to a certain age, it becomes harder and harder to identify what you believe in versus what everybody told you you need to believe in. And let me make this side note. There are lots of people who share with us directly, indirectly, lovingly what beliefs and values are important. And they do it lovingly. I use that term on purpose. And because they're doing it lovingly, they don't mean any harm. They're trying to guide us in a loving way. And most of the time, those values are being imparted onto us by our parents. And they love us. And maybe our siblings, maybe our friends, maybe our teachers. And the majority of them really do mean well. They love us, they want to protect us, they want to guide us. So that's all very, very positive. It just often also at the same time prevents us from us later on understanding what we really value and understanding and embracing who we really are. It's really important to be you. And that's partially why I wrote the book, Be You. I mean, it's very simple to me. And of course, that's here with Transformation TV. So Transformation TV helped me a lot in opening back up to a certain area myself that is really, really important to me. And so the hidden power of patterns gets to the first level and the second level and then to the subconscious mind. The thoughts that you are not even aware of until you start drilling down. And every pattern on every little layer or every little big layer has a power over you and your life. And that might be a fantastic power. It might be an outstanding power that you want to keep. That's great. But it might also be one that is actually holding you back. That is preventing you from being all that you can be, all that you are here to be, because you are extraordinary. A dear friend of mine, Noah MacArthur, who I'm hoping to also have on the show at some point, uses the term Noah, nothing ordinary about him. Nothing ordinary about her. There's nothing ordinary about any of us. Therefore, we all have the power to be misfits. And when we are misfits, we are truly being ourselves. In order to return to be ourselves, because we were when we were kids, in order to return to being ourselves, we need to figure out those patterns. And to then decide with information whether we want to keep those patterns or whether we want to change them. And we have to take one pattern at a time for that. We can't just say, I hate all of them, I love all of them. And in that process, we have to look at our words too. I'm so proud in many ways that I hear my daughter sometimes say, don't use that word. That's a very impactful word. And it was the one that I just used to illustrate. Don't use the word hate. Love everything. Because whatever you put your energy on is going to come back to you, right? And so the question then becomes, do you love yourself? See, being a misfit starts with loving yourself. Being a misfit so that you can be happy and successful in your own way requires you to love yourself. And here's the funny thing about that. Most of us at a certain age don't. We have learned to love others before ourselves. And if we do take time for ourselves, we're being called narcissistic. If we at age 30, 40, 50, 60, or 70 look in the mirror and say, oh, you're amazing, I just love you, and somebody hears it, they think we're loco. We're not. Because in order to be who we are and do what we are here to do, we actually need to love ourselves first and foremost. But you need to have that confidence to love yourself, which means you have to know yourself. I used to do a radio show years ago that was actually called Know Thyself, which I happen to believe to be extremely crucial. And I want to share something with you out of one of my books. I want to share it with you because I think it's really important. In my work, I've created, in the hidden power patterns, I created 5 stereotypes. And they're important simply for the reason that we need to figure out how far are we willing to go to rediscover ourselves? How far are we willing to make change happen? And most importantly, how are we going to react to any kind of change, any kind of loving ourselves? So the 5 main stereotypes are: number 1, the revolutionary; number 2, the historian; and number 3, the adventurer; number 4, the theoretician; and number 5, the dreamer. Now, those 5 main stereotypical characters are, of course, a generalized description, because you could have different pieces of everybody, and most of us do. But it helps to understand what our baseline is. Other people talk about Carolyn Nice and Teresa Campus and others. They talk of the 5 archetypes, and that goes even deeper. These are just more related to change and our level of self-awareness. So I want you to become more self-aware so that we can really start on figuring out how you can live again. The piece that I'm really interested in is getting you to live again. So many people exist, and we exist because we fit in and we're living according to somebody else's values. And that means we're not really passionate. We're doing what everybody else is doing. We're looking what our friends are doing. And therefore, we're really existing. There's a difference between living and existing. Living means that every day when you get up, you're passionate. You're emotionally connected to what is happening. You're not detached. Now, that doesn't mean every morning you really get up and you go, it's a great day. Because there are days when you get up and you want to stay in bed. Okay, let's just face it. But you got to be honest about that. There's nothing wrong any which way. Just got to be honest about it. And so when we're looking at these 5 stereotypes, just briefly, the revolutionary tends to thrive on challenge. These are people who have a vision of where their life needs to go, what they want, and they may even have a greater vision for humanity at large. Excuse me. Is that you? I just told you I'm a revolutionary, right? Oops. The historian. Know your history. Know who you are. History is the beginning and the end for a historian, since they are working hard on identifying what happened in the past, what is happening, and what might happen in the future, and possibly how to avoid that. Is that you? The adventurer. Let me take a sip of water. For some reason, all of a sudden, it all got out of hand. The adventurer. Well, just going for it because you never know what else is out there, and it may be fun and good. You may know some of those people, and you may be one of those people. Now, again, I've read out 3, and I don't want you to judge. Just see what resonates with you. The theoretician, yes, very deliberate in considering all the cons and pros, usually focusing on the ifs in the more preventative sense. If things are working right now and the theory says to wait it out, they will. This means that theoreticians usually will resist change in the beginning. And then, of course, we have the dreamer. The dreamer literally dreams of a better life and that all is possible. Unfortunately, the dreamer will, however, stay within the confines of safety and comfort to hold on to what they have while only dreaming of what could be. So, did any of that resonate with you? Any one more than another? Again, you might have various of these characteristics, but think about it. One usually is the one that you go, "Ooh, yeah, that's me." And you might want to ask some of your friends and family members which one you are. It's really important to know yourself. None of these 5 are better than the other. They're all different. And they all speak to how you're going to act and react to some of the information I'm going to be sharing with you. The hidden power of patterns is crucial because we're going to talk about you, your beliefs, your goals, your values, you. And when we talk about those, we'll also get to talk about your purpose. And once you re-embrace yourself, that is when you will start living. And when you start living, you will start thriving. Because they go hand in hand. I always talk about the 3 P's: purpose, passion, and profit. And it starts with purpose, and you cannot know your purpose unless you know who you are, fitting or misfitting. If you don't know that, you don't know who you are most likely existing. And let me add this: if you're existing and you're happy, continue. But you're watching this, so I think you know there's more. And I want to talk more with you about that. So stay tuned for the next episode, which shall come to you soon. In the meantime, keep checking out Transformation TV. I have my page there. A lot of my amazing colleagues and friends have a page there. And if you need to get in touch with me because you have a question, I'm all over social media, just by my name, my website, whatever. But please, if you have a question, send it to me because I would love to pick it up. This is not a show where I'm telling you. This is a show where I'm trying to assist you so that you can start living and thriving, so that you can live your life your way. That's why I'm a revolutionary, because that's what I'm here to do. No regrets, no ifs, no buts, or anything like that. So are you ready? Good. I will see you next time. And in the meantime, I'm looking forward to hearing from you. I'm looking forward to sharing more information with you next time, as I'm reaching out also to some new and amazing guests. And I must say that I'm grateful that you're here, because as my mom taught me, and as I'm teaching my daughter, the most important gift that we have in life is to give somebody else our time and to be present in that time. So thank you for being here. I'm honored, and I can't wait to come back next time.